What I'm going to speak about is what rose in me. And I wasn't sure what that would be. I wasn't sure what the message would be. But the more I sat with it in my yoga practice and my commutes to work, speaking with friends and colleagues, I began to feel the spirit show some clarity. I don't need to try to be anything that I'm not. I just need to be me. So here I am, an almost 58-year-old gay married man, dad to 3 dogs, 10 cats, 2 possums, and about 150 kids. I'm the assistant director of Thrive Youth Center in San Antonio, Texas, where we provide service and shelter for youth 18 to 24 that identify within the LGBTQIA population. I'm a drug addict that chooses not to use every day. I'm a yoga teacher, sports enthusiast, and now living with HIV for 23 years. The youngest of seven. Born into a Mexican-American household, uncle to 13 nieces and nephews, 28 great nieces and nephews, and 13 great nieces and nephews. And they all know me as Uncle G. I've had friendships for over 50 years and they span the world. I'm very proud of those relationships. So when I asked myself what spiritual refreshment for the long haul was, I had the conversation of, if I am not charged, how can I recharge others? How do I practice self-care for the challenges that I face, nourish others with supportive language? And what do I do on a daily basis to support my Quaker values that is not ethnocentric? I also had to make notes and the font big enough so I could read it. If I am not charged, how can I recharge others? How can I use idle time and focused energy for personal intentions that may recharge my soul through the things that allow me to serve more effectively? I must find ways to recharge my body, mind, and spirit in order to be present and engaged for others. Being present is a witness. Being present and engaged is an active participant. When I feel like I'm skimming the surface and coasting through, those are the signs that I need a reboot. Feeling stuck in a rut can put a damper on even the most blessed things in life. However, the awareness of that stagnation motivates me to get refreshed. This growth may look like being rebellious, unconventional, becoming involved in community action or humanitarian efforts so that we can break away from our daily challenges. Quakerism refers to this time as times of retirement. These are times when we pull back from the chatter and busyness of our outward lives, and that amazing sanctuary of our inner wisdom can be replaced by that chatter. I call this chatter in my own head the committee. Sometimes the committee has meetings that I can't attend or I'm not willing to attend, right? So we have to have those opportunities to say not today. I can postpone those meetings and enter into a time of retirement. I have found the times of retirement that take no time out of my day. We discussed this morning, brushing my teeth, waiting for coffee to be ready, waiting for my computer to turn on, standing in line at the supermarket. All of those moments take no time out of my day, but it allows me time to reflect and go inward. Allowing those minutes, those moments of retirement allow me to have longer periods now. There's no right time or right place to have them. What I have found is when I start convincing myself to stay there, it's time to come out of there. I spend so much energy trying to keep me there that it's pointless in staying there. Have there ever been any times that you may have gotten settled in to read a good book, listen to a podcast, enjoy some music, and gotten a phone call from someone, hey, I need your help. I need you in this moment. Have you ever said yes and then entered into that engagement with a bad attitude? You've taken my time of retirement away from me, when in reality, I'm giving it up. So that person on the other end that heard, yep, I'll be right over. It's not their fault that we enter into that with a manner of poor presence. Let's be mindful of that. What if in the future we were able to say, yes, I can come over as soon as I'm finished with whatever that is. Another one that I've started using is no, I'm not able to right now, but I'll call you when I am. No is a complete sentence. Yes is a complete sentence. However, we have lately begun to justify the no. No, but. No, maybe. No, because. It can simply be no. Times of retirement are required for me to recharge so that I am better able to serve others in a way that allows my light to be present, honored, and shared. If my energy, my disposition, and my communication is off, it's not fair to that person that I may have been the only person they could call. Think of the energy and times that we have struggled to reach out. I don't want to be the person that adds that layer to the person that finally found the strength to reach out. In times of retirement, I am reminded of what my sister Julia said. Don't major on the minors and don't minor on the majors. Find the energy to work on those things that are positive and serve you. Find the energy to bring closure to the things that do not. Don't major on the minors and don't minor on the majors. How do I practice self-care? And it was so wonderful. So in the last 2 days, many of the things that I have written here have come up in conversation. In our youth meeting this morning, there was a youth that said, how do you practice self-care? I take a bath. I have nice lotion. I take a shower. All of these are ways that we can practice self-care. It's not selfish to practice self-care. We have to make that designation sometimes. For me, when I am emotionally off and physically off and mentally drained, it causes me to behave differently in every interaction, in every piece that I become involved with. When those moments are presented, I have stopped saying it's bothersome. It's asking for attention. Kids, mom, mother, dad, father, Gregory. It's asking for attention. It's not bother. It's not painful. It's something that's requiring my attention for me to be able to say, oh, I haven't seen you in a while. I haven't practiced you in a while. So without self-care, prolonged and chronic stress, physical and mental emotional fatigue are imminent. And when we get to this point, we risk our health. So being mindful of when to pay attention and enter those moments of retirement. When I think of resting, it allows me to take care of myself. I feel nourished so that I can keep showing up in the healthiest version of me that's available. It allows me to maintain healthy relationships. It's also important to remember that self-care can look different for everyone. For some, it might be eating a tub of ice cream in a dark room, watching Netflix. For somebody else, it may be riding their bike in a park or going to the botanical garden, being outside. It can look different for everyone, but let's not confuse a sick day with a mental health day. Those are very different. If in your professional career and in mine, I absolutely require staff to take their mental health days. You've earned them, you're entitled to them, and everyone else is going to benefit from them. So the main areas that I like to practice self-care is physical, mental, emotional, environmental, social, and spiritual. None of these should ever feel like a chore, nor should they be expensive. Choose activities that are comfortable. My physical self-care, eating healthy, a nourishing meal, moving my body, right? Even when you're sitting at your desk, potentially, just lift your arms up, stretch to the side. That opportunity of physical movement, taking a twist are natural detoxes for your body. Imagine that washcloth that we run under the sink or that dish towel, and then we wring it out and then we put fresh water in it again. That's what twists do for our bodies. When we untwist, all of that fresh blood rushes through and flushes the impurities out. So having that opportunity, getting a good night's sleep, being out in the sun, getting some vitamin D, spending time in nature, having a soothing bath or a shower. In January, I did the 40-mile dog walk for St. Jude's to raise money. On this walk, I discovered this is not my walk. This is my dog's walk. Let her sniff. Don't make it my time. Come on, let's go. Let's not stop there. This is her walk. It is not my walk. So my new phrase is let them sniff. I have to be very mindful of that phrase as well. Physical self-care, just finding those pieces of being mindful and physical of our intention. My mental self-care, it involves psychological and cognitive thinking, our mind's ability to understand and process information and experiences. Not only do mental self-care practices help stimulate the mind, they improve brain functionality. This might not seem like mental health care. Go backwards in the supermarket. We have a path. We go the same way. Every time up and down the aisle, go backwards. Drive a different way home. How many times have we potentially gone through the stop sign and went, oh, no one's ever there. I go through it. Put your shoes on opposite foot first. Put your weakest arm through your shirt first before putting your dominant hand in. All of these things stimulate neural paths, make us think for a second what we're doing, helps prevent the onset of Alzheimer's and dementia. Mental health care. Learning a new skill or a language, setting a big intentional goal or many personal ones, journaling, practicing gratitude, doing a social media detox, engaging in a game of chess and practicing positive thinking. All of these are that mental self-care. Emotional self-care. I've stopped with my youth saying, what can I help you with? Help at times has a negative connotation. I don't need your help. What I need is your support, your guidance, your encouragement, your partnership. So I've removed that from my language with the youth. Emotional self-care involves our feelings and learning to understand ourselves and our emotions better. Through emotional self-care, we may find new and different ways to truly love and accept ourselves, setting healthy and clear boundaries. Isn't it interesting how we set a boundary and then someone says, "You've changed"? No, I haven't. I've just chosen to stop being taken advantage of. I've chosen to take my power back. I've chosen to establish a boundary that's healthy for me. So when we have those opportunities to spend time with ourselves without distractions, speaking to a therapist, having a good cry or a good laugh, writing down positive affirmations, and asking for support and assistance. We have more than one friend because one friend can't do it all for us. Seek those individuals that will support us however we might need to be supported. We may say, "I love myself," and the next minute we say something to ourselves that we would never allow someone else. This voice will always be louder. We are responsible for changing the message. There are times that, wow, that was stupid. If someone walked up to me and said, "Wow, that was stupid," I'm sorry. What did you just say to me? But we freely say it to ourselves. So there are times that we teach people how to treat us. Therefore, we must be good educators. Environmental self-care means that we need to be in the right place and space to truly thrive. See what I did there? Thrive Youth Center. Remember, our environment should always motivate us rather than distract or make us feel depressed, keeping our personal space organized and clutter-free and maintain an environment just as much as we take care of ourselves. I make the bed every morning. And when I sent this to my sister, she was like, "You make your bed every morning?" I'm like, "Yes, who doesn't make their bed every morning?" And she goes, "It's a struggle for me to get her husband, Nolan, out of bed in order to make the bed." So that I understand too. Traveling for a change of scenery, tidying and organizing your workplace. We all know where things are. Sure, it's in the stack. Take that 10 minutes to sort the stack and file it, right? Hold on, I got it. I got it right here. Just one second. Organize that space. Explore somewhere new. Oh, I thought that was mine. Setting a calm mood in the evenings. Turn the lights down, turn the television off, turn the phone off, turn your computer off. For me, these moments allow me to begin to settle in. Self-care doesn't always have to be about spending time with ourselves. We also need that social aspect as well. Coming back out of COVID, we're re-engaging. So take those steps appropriately, finding out who is available to you. Create new personal relationships, professional relationships, staying connected with those people that you value. If I haven't heard from someone in a while and I'm wondering how they're doing, it's not their responsibility to pick up the phone or send me a text or send me a note. My responsibility to check in, to let individuals know how I value them and what I value about them. Think about, for me, not saying, "Wow, that shirt looks good on you. Your hair looks nice today. I really like your humor. I really like your kindness. I really like your passion." What do they inherently possess that we admire? That we may find that connection in not just what they're wearing or how they're dressed, how they're carrying themselves, all of those small things that they might stand up a little taller thinking, "Thank you for noticing." Self-care is also that social piece. In my neighborhood, we call it MITS, meet in the street. We meet on Sundays in the street and we share popsicles or ice creams or a recipe, introduce people that might not know each other, and just check in. And when I check in, I really listen to what those answers might be. "Oh, I'm doing okay." I know to check in later. They might not feel comfortable sharing in the group what's going on, but I can check in later. You said, okay, I just wanted to follow up on that. Anything that I can do. Being mindful of knowing they might not be able to initiate the conversation. Creating a safe space through my language, through my ability to connect, to allow them the opportunity to really be open, allowing that. My spiritual self-care really is meant to nourish and soothe my soul, while the other areas of self-care are mind and body. This is spirit, and it can be different for everyone, whatever that might look like. It allows me to silence the outside world in order to find calm and peace. I practice yoga. I meditate. I breathe, spending outdoor time with my dogs. I revisit my core values of compassion, not only in my thoughts, but my words and my actions. Sitting in honor of the things that I do well and asking for support and a little bit of direction on the things that I do not. Again, with all of this being said, self-care is not selfish. When I think about the language, meet in the street, these other ways, I ask my friends, how does my spirituality in our relationship recharge you? And I ask this because I want to make sure that I'm serving those people in a way that is uplifting, in a way that leads me to know that I am doing the work that I am responsible to do. For me, if I'm not asking how I'm doing and is there anything that I can do differently, I don't care. I'm just going to keep doing the same things that I'm doing. But this allows me to understand there might be areas that I need to improve on. If I'm having a conversation, I have to turn my phone off. I have to be present and engaged in that moment for that person. So when I asked them what this question and really what it meant to them, I was reminded of Richard Bach in the book Illusions. This is a test to see if your mission in life is complete. If you're alive, it isn't. So when I asked them, a couple of the responses were, and this one really got me. Your amazing knowledge and wisdom start with you. You always have such a calming spirit that can take an active, anxious mind to be put at ease. I can show up to yoga a hot mess, but then I leave knowing that I've been accepted, shown love by you, and recognize that I need to show love for myself. Your spirituality always makes me feel seen, empowered, loved, and supported, but also provide guidance from a good heart and good intentions. You lead by example. Even when you're unaware of who is witnessing your engagement, you are still true. You role model in a way that is unwavering and remains pure regardless of whether someone is watching or not. I took those as affirmation that what I'm doing is serving other individuals and that my light is ever present. It may provide comfort and that eventually it may lead someone out of darkness. And I ask these so that I can continue to serve and get recharged from those social engagements. But being positive doesn't mean that you have to be happy all the time. It just means that you know, even on the hard days, better ones are coming. For a second, let's think about some of the things that we might say. I have to go pick up the kids. I have to make dinner. I have to. How about changing it to I get to? I get to go pick up my children. I get to make dinner. I get to do these things. When I'm in conversation and we're talking about race or ethnicity or LGBT, I don't see color, only people. It's not wrong to see color. It's not wrong to see differences in ethnicity. It's not wrong to see how an individual may be different. If we don't ask how someone's experience is, we can stifle the conversation. We can stifle the growth in a relationship. It's okay to ask, are you supported? Are you getting what you need from me and from the community, and how we're serving you? There may be times that we say that wasn't my intention. When we say that, we already know that the impact was negative. That wasn't my intention. Whether or not it was, it has an impact, positive or negative, right? So we have to be mindful, and I have to be very mindful of my words and how I select them and choose them. I'm not mean, I'm just honest. Right? Have we heard that? Have we said that? Have we witnessed that? That might be true, but there are times that our honesty can wait for the right time. I recently I'm doing a train the trainer, and one of the new trainers, I shadowed a presentation. How did you like my presentation? Honestly, it was terrible. But in that moment, seeing the light, seeing the joy, seeing the happiness, seeing the confidence, seeing everything exuding from them, I could not say honestly, without being hurtful, what I thought of it. What I did say was, I'm so proud of you for getting out of your comfort zone. Your presence and confidence was amazing. I had not seen that before from you. I think you shared much of yourself and overcame your insecurities. In this moment, enjoy everything that you accomplished today. That wasn't a lie. That was exactly the truth. Then the next day, I was able to have a conversation about the presentation, and it was received way differently than it would have been in that moment. So being mindful of, what can I say in this moment to not take you away from the joy that you're experiencing or the sadness that you might be experiencing? I'm proud of you for making a decision. Let's be mindful of that. And for me, it's just the opportunity to share what I do. How do we create a safe space for those that surround us? By speaking in a way in which no one will ever doubt our love. By not being distracted. By being wholly present and engaged. By putting our phones down. Being present and engaged without judgment or expectation. What do I do on a daily basis to support my Quaker values in a way that's not ethnocentric? So my world is not the same as everyone that I encounter. And I have to honor that, and I have to recognize that. Have there been times that we've heard or said, why don't you just? Why don't you just? Whatever that might be. Simplicity, and for many of us, it's living in a way that is modest, not extravagant, intentional. Simplicity, avoiding waste, teaching economy, avoiding value clashes complicated by fear, greed, pressure, and false sense of identity. But it doesn't come without privilege or access. With simplicity comes the idea of easy, making decisions that are well thought out, that as Quakers, we know it takes us a while to get there. Being simple in my words, in my communication, There have been times that with a youth, I have said, if you'll just read this and sign at the bottom. I have taken for granted their literacy level. I have taken for granted they don't need the font larger in order for them to read it. That it might need to be in a different color in order for them to read it. So being mindful of this simplicity of all of my actions, it challenges me to avoid the idea of what's good for me must be good for everyone else. The idea of banning plastic bags from stores. Yes, I know the environmental impact. Yes, I know that they are detrimental. What I didn't know was the economic impact that this may have on low-income communities. Using the bag as a garbage bag, using the bag as a lunch pail, using the bag as shoe covers. All of these cost nothing. By my way of doing good could create an economic impact on the low income. Being mindful of what these observations do for me allows me to advocate for their needs, all without saying, why don't you just? Peace. Peace is often found amongst chaos. I'm going to date myself here. Remember the Calgon commercial? Calgon, take me away. The mom in the bathtub, the stove is boiling over, the kids are screaming. Peace is found amongst chaos. The steadfast person that demonstrates confidence and calm while recognizing the violence and conflict that surrounds them without entering the violence and conflict. Managing my reaction and supporting others to achieve this through practice. I get to practice my peace through my thoughts, words, and actions. I have discovered for me that anger is a manifestation of being threatened, of being attacked, of being frustrated, of being powerless. And it's my responsibility to identify ways to manage my anger in order to maintain peace. I can manage my efforts to maintain peace in my community and my world by being present and engaged in my neighborhood, my social and professional networks, and in finding those organizations that support my mission, ideals, and speaking to others that do not. When I'm able to identify and share negative impacts and offer ways to change it, it must be through conversation, not confrontation. When I find those moments of a negative impact, I can have the conversation with the person that caused it. I may not be able to change their mind, so I shift to the person that has been negatively impacted. Uplift that individual that has been victimized. Support organizations that provide services to victims of violence, abuse, and neglect. I'm a support organizations that offer to teach nonviolent ways in times of conflict, all without saying, why don't you just? Integrity should be easy to define, right? It wasn't. To tell the truth and don't say one thing and not do another, living up to your morals even when no one's watching. Living in integrity for me is being able to accept accountability for my actions, asking for forgiveness when I have done harm, listening to learn, not listening to respond, and honoring that of God and other people. I have to extend space and grace at times. Integrity affords me the opportunity to acknowledge that the starting line is not the same for everyone. Integrity is also relying on the fact that we can have similar experiences, but the outcomes are different. Relying on my ability to comprehend those that don't know that they don't know. If someone was never mothered, they might not know how to mother. If someone never had a friend, they might not know how to be a friend. Admitting when I was wrong without justification as to why, not defending my mistake. I may not always agree with someone, but I can disagree in a manner that is firm and with respect. All the time, saying, not saying, why don't you just? Community. This was a challenging one for me too. Within my community, I have people that are like me, that are unlike me, adverse to me, unsupportive of me, and express hatred towards me. And within all of them, I strive and struggle to see that of God within us. Our job is to not make things more difficult for others trying to live their lives through my thoughts, words, and actions. Yet I see it every day, multiple times a day. I've shifted my energy to not attempt to change those that are against me, but to support those that are like me. I feel my responsibility is to lift those that need lifting and reach down to the hand that's reaching up. There are times that my responsibility to react to those that are in contra to me is not around me. I am not able to remain silent, knowing that my silence will not save me. Silence equals permission. In my community, I need not react in a negative manner to the negativity that is shown to me. I must trust my integrity, my equality, peace, and show space and grace to those that don't know that they don't know. I am of the belief of Harvey Milk. When they know me, they cannot deny me. I rest in my faith, my value, my light, and in my relationship with God. Avoiding, why don't you just? Equality. It's very interesting. As I mentioned earlier, many of the things that I had written had come up in conversation or signage. Equality. We as Quakers are not immune to the failures of equality. We were active in the slave trade. We were active in the formation of Pennsylvania and the cultural cleansing of Native Americans run in Quaker boarding schools. In my community, I must recognize how members have been mistreated. Am I responsible for the actions of those that came before me? No. Am I responsible for apologizing for those that came before me? No. Am I responsible for not denying the mistreatment occurred? Yes. Am I responsible for establishing equity in my community? Yes. How do I do this? By understanding that we cannot have diversity without inclusion, and we cannot have inclusion without diversity. This is not just race, ethnicity, language, orientation, gender, but we must also include modalities: auditory, visual, physical. Are we truly equitable in all areas? The common phrase now is everyone has a seat at the table. Are they eating? Are they participating in the conversation? Are we recognizing that some people may need a booster chair because the table is here? That's equity. Recognizing that some people may need a high chair. Some people may not even need a chair because they're already in a chair. So we have to recognize that someone has the opportunity to participate doesn't mean that they are because of the inequities. Realizing that a safe space within this area means identifying. In my professional work, if someone is in a wheelchair and they present to my office, am I moving a chair? That proves I wasn't ready for them. It adds a layer of discomfort. I should already have the chair moved for that person to come in. If I'm working with a person that is deaf, Have I already identified how we're going to communicate? Are we sharing a keyboard? Are we writing things down? Do I have an interpreter? If someone is blind, how am I creating a safe space for that person to fully be present and engaged? That for me all comes with, why don't you just? Stewardship. Friends strive to use God's gifts wisely. Gifts conceived in the broadest of terms. These gifts include talents, possessions, as well as our natural environment. Friends believe that such gifts are not ours alone. To friends, good stewardship means taking care of what has been given, not just for ourselves, but for the people around us and the future generations. Friends strive to use their gifts in accordance with our beliefs. Practicing good stewardship for me is environmentally, financially, and my person. Environmental stewardship looks like making sure that my vehicle is well maintained. Even on the hottest days, I don't use my air conditioner. I roll my windows down. Recycling, composting, creating a pollinator garden, not using pesticides, not accepting water in a restaurant that I know I won't drink because water is a commodity. Why pour it down the drain? Having meatless dinners and paying attention to water latent crops. Financial stewardship is often compounded with generational wealth. Establishing monthly giving plans, not spending frivolously on an item that doesn't serve me, my life, or my simplicity. Establishing and maintaining meal plans, and prioritizing spending versus consumption. Pay it forward. The person behind me, and I don't go to Starbucks, but I'll use it as an example. If I'm in line, I'm not going to pay for the person behind me. They're already in line with the money in their pocket. I'm going to give it to an organization that supports my mission and value. Being mindful of paying for something where someone is already able to pay themselves, I want to give that to somewhere else. My personal stewardship, sharing my gifts, my kindness, compassion, honesty, mindfulness in yoga in a way that encourages others to be curious about their own being, how they can impact their own lives through simple ways, saying thank you, holding the door for someone, letting someone go in front of me that might be struggling in their day. Complimenting a person on what they inherently possess. Reminding people to be grateful for the things that we have in our lives and to be equally as grateful for the things that we do not. That was a lot. I don't know if any of this makes sense. I don't know if it's useful. I don't know if it's worthy of being a keynote speaker, but it's what I felt called to share. It's who I am, what I believe, and the way that I navigate my life today. That might evolve, that might change. Tomorrow may be different than today, but the acknowledgement and openness of knowing that it can be different. I've stopped saying better. Life can be lived differently. All of this is how I present and represent that of God and everyone. Thank you for trusting me, supporting me, listening to me, and holding me in the light. The light in me honors and respects the light in you. Thank you. okay, now what? So when I was going through this last night, and I told Val this morning, I'm like, it's only like 30 minutes. And when I spoke to my sister, she said, you've always been a good steward of time. You don't want to waste other people's time. So say what you are supposed to say, let people sit with it. If it resonates with them, if there are any questions about what you do and how you do it, that's the opportunity to continue to share your life. So opening the floor, if any comments, or if any of this maybe resonated with you, think of the years of experience and knowledge that we have in this room. Not one person possesses all of it, but together we do. Together, what may work for one person has never even been adventured into by another. So being able to have that lateral learning and that lateral sharing and that lateral experience, that makes the community grow, allows the community to grow. So please, any comments with regard to how you recharge? What are some of those things? How you find your way of sharing your Quaker values in the things that you do, and the manner in which you do them, things that we don't do. This is a great opportunity to share what those are. It only takes one voice for someone else to go, oh, that's what I think. That's what I feel. I never knew that. Now I understand. Now I can be curious and go learn more about something. So if we have that opportunity, and if you're comfortable sharing, please do. Because I think we can move the mic around. The mic has already been moved around.
I want to thank you for what you said today. I found it very helpful. And this morning, Greg came and worked with the children too, and his presence with the children is really powerful. I don't have anything in. Well, the one thought that came to my mind was is how we walk through our day. Is when we're seeing that of God in others and letting that of God in us connect with them. And you were talking about that in more concrete ways. So that's the main thing I was thinking about is all the time. But you mentioned the recharge part about setting down and being in silence. I'm amazed how much I learned when I brush my teeth. Is things come together because I think it's a time when I'm not thinking about other things, and then the solution will come up to something that's been on my heart. So those are my comments, and also I'm really curious about your work, how you learn about how the young people, the 18 to 24-year-olds, find you. I'm guessing a lot of them are coming from real fear and trauma, and there's a lot of taught hatred in our world now that's directed at LGBTQ AI. I don't know. I hope I got them all. So I'm really curious about that and how you are able to your organization is able to get them so that they go out in the world and thrive.
Sure. So a lot of our enrollments and referrals are word of mouth from youth. The community that's on the street already knows. So in the US, there are 3.5 million youth 18 to 24 experiencing homelessness. 1.4 million of those youth identify as LGBTQIA. In the United States, there are 25 specific organizations that have beds for this community. In those 25 organizations, there are 250 beds for 1.4 million kids. So when we first engage with youth, our job is not to take their wall down. It's to build trust, confidence, communication, prove the fact that I don't want anything from the youth. I want to make sure that they're okay. Once I prove that, the walls start to come down on their own. Through that engagement, typically 3 to 4% of youth will enter shelter. One, because the system isn't made for them. The system isn't made for an 18-year-old trans youth to enter an emergency shelter. It's not made for them. So we have to find ways to support them. We have our own dorm on the campus of Haven for Hope, which is the largest homeless transformation center in the nation. And we've worked very hard to make sure that all members, that all staff are culturally trained, that they understand what the difference is in LGBTQIA population and how those differences and experiences are generally traumatizing. Youth that are on the street will break a law of last resort. Law of last resort is it's raining outside. There's a fence around shelter. The sign says no trespassing, but I'm tired of being wet. So I jump the fence and I get arrested for trespassing. I'm tired of being cold and wet, so I will prostitute my person in order to get shelter and get warm and get food. And I get convicted of prostitution. This will not allow youth to obtain an apartment because it's a felony, and apartment complexes won't lease to felons with a prostitution charge and conviction. So supporting youth and understanding youth, all of the traumas that have been forced upon them, their HIV risk factors are higher. Their STI risk factors are higher. Their ACEs scores, adverse childhood experience scores, are higher. But we don't need to think about only adverse childhood experiences. There are also adverse community experiences. I may have the best house and the most supportive parents, and the minute that I walk out the door, that's when my neighborhood is calling me names and bullying me and beating me up and doing all of these things. My home can be my haven, where ACEs don't impact it, but it's adverse community experiences that happen. So we have 13 beds. We surround our youth first by saying, sleep. Sleep. Take a week, get grounded. Take a shower, get a couple of meals in you. Then we can start the process of what you want to do. It's not about what I want you to do, what I think you're capable of. It's what you think you're capable of, and then I can support you in that way. Education, employment, benefits, mental health, gender affirming care, medical care, period. And Bill can support me on this. I get in a lot of trouble in San Antonio. Imagine. San Antonio is the 7th largest city in the US, and there is not one San Antonio Metro Health clinic open on the weekends or after 4. So when we say, why don't you just go to the doctor, go to the clinic? It's a 4-hour bus ride round trip. No clinics open. I can't take a day off of work because that means I then can't pay my rent if they are housed, right? So understanding the idea of why don't you just get a job because I don't have an ID? Why don't you just go get an ID? Because I don't have the 3 supporting documents to get my ID. I don't have $11. Why didn't you just pay your rent with a money order? Because I had $750. I did not have $751.50. The $1.50 to buy the money order. So when we think of how easy it might be, these are the challenges. So the other part of working in this community is the biggest reason youth are entering homelessness now is because they're exiting foster care. In 1 year, a youth could experience 10 different houses. So imagine if they've been in care for 10 years. There is no permanency. This youth has not experienced permanency. They don't have more than what their backpack will carry because they're always moving. No wonder they are people pleasers, because they just want to stay in this house. They don't want to move again. They will do all of these things to ensure that they can stay there. So all of these re-traumatizations are happening many times over. So when we get the youth, sleep. You're safe here. If you wake up at midnight because you have been sex trafficked and you can't sleep overnight, you're used to sleeping in the day, I want to support you in that. Come into the office and let's have a conversation. Let's talk about those things. So we are challenged and faced with many different opportunities to support the youth, but we also have to come to the realization that we're not going to change in 6 months or a year what took 18 to 24 to create. My oldest brother, who also, he passed of HIV. Ironically, he passed the same year that I was diagnosed. So there's a lot of internalized struggle going on there. Said to me, the only thing that we're ever given is a chance. We have that conversation with the youth. I want to give you a chance. It's up to you to take the opportunity. Once you tell me what you want to do, I get to hold you accountable for those things now. I get to begin to partner with you to remove the barriers that exist in front of you, to be able for you to live life differently, not better, differently. Find your path, find the way that benefits you in order to move to a different life. There are youth that don't do well in our emergency shelter, don't do well in our housing program, but it's in there. So as parents, when your kids are growing up and you're like, are you listening? And then once they're gone and out of the house, you're like, oh my gosh, you did listen. You got it. It was in there. Our job is to pack their library full of books, so that when they get there, the book is already there. They just got to check it out. Right? So we've had youth that see us at different tabling events or community events. And last year at the Pride celebration, one of our youth came up and she said, Mr. Greg. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And she goes, I didn't do well in the shelter. She said, I didn't want to do well. I was angry because I was there. And I said, I know. But guess what? Now I have my own apartment. My name is on the lease. I have a job. I started school. So everything that I learned there, I'm now doing here. Great. So there's an opportunity for the message and the library to be full. The book just wasn't ready to be checked out. And it's okay. We all move at different paces. So when we have that opportunity to sit down with a youth, and discover who they are, what they want to do, and where they want to be, that's how we can support them. Yes, we have, measurements, qualitative, quantitative, but the real success is when a youth that has been sex trafficked tells me in a case manager session, I can now get undressed with a light on. That's success. I walked across the stage and they said my name. not my legal name, my name. I'll share this. It's not a preferred name. It's not a chosen name. It's their name. We have to take that out of our language. It's not my legal name, but my name is. There's a difference. Not my preferred, not my chosen, it's my name. Again, I get in trouble. When I take a trans youth to the doctor and the provider will call them by their legal name, please stop doing that. What do you call me? Well, I call you Greg. That's not my legal name. My legal name is Gregory. So cut it out. Stop using power to keep this youth that is seeking you for guidance and support. Stop treating them that way. And if you don't, we will leave. But I have to ask for permission. The youth cannot be put on the spot in that moment because they continue to shrink. What's your safe word when you want me to intervene? Then we go from there. I'm not shy about those things. I'm emotional, but I'm not shy. So if you are in a provider field, pronouns are very confusing right now. And we're all struggling with pronouns and the usage and how to. When we're in meetings and we go around and, for example, my name is Greg, I go by he, him pronouns, I'm with Thrive Youth Center. What about the person that isn't comfortable yet? That hasn't identified with their pronouns yet? I just put them on the spot to disclose what their pronouns are in a room full of strangers. How about starting the meeting with, we're going to go around, name, organization, and if you're comfortable, state your pronouns. And I intentionally don't state my pronouns to give power and agency to the person that isn't there yet. If I have a youth that's struggling with their pronouns, I have pens. Put on a pen so I know how we're defining today, how we're living today. I have paper name tags for youth that are exploring with identifying what their name is going to be, because now it's in their power. They can write it down. That way I can address them in a way that is uplifting, that proves confidence, trust, so that we can continue to build that relationship. When I have to have a legal name, I tell them why I need it. For insurance purposes, for records, I have to have this, but in our conversation, your name is G. So all of these things come along with the work that we do. We're very fortunate to have wonderful community support. Do you all know Bombas socks? Okay. On the commercials, they have, when you buy a pair, we give a pair. Thrive is one of the giving partners. So we receive that, get a pair. We also share them legally, by the way, with our other community members that are serving any homeless population. So we're able to distribute those out. So we feel very supportive. And when we do our outreach bags, I don't want anything from you. There might be something in here that can benefit you today. I'll be back here on Tuesday. I better be back there on Tuesday. That's proving that I'm there for them. It's also very important. So when we're talking about names, I need to know street names. Using Bill as an example, if I walk up and I'm, hey, have y'all seen William? Who's William? Backing up. But if I walk up, hey, have y'all seen Bill? No, I haven't seen him in a while. What's the street name? What's the name so that I can know and not be a threat? I also never show up in shiny shoes because that's always a dangerous thing. Shiny shoes are an indicator of, ooh, no, I'm not talking to you. So that's what we do. And that's how we do it. So we've been around for 8 years now. We were founded in 2015. So we're about this old in the nonprofit world, but we have achieved great things. We have 2 HUD grants. We have a state grant. We have a couple of city grants. All of our staff, we have a staff of 22, all but 3 are grant funded. So in a small organization, that's huge for us to be able to do those things. So that's what we do. And I never thought I'd be dad to 150 kids. And I'm proud of it. I'm proud that I may be the constant for them. I may be the first person that believed in them, that listened to them, that uplifted them. I'm very proud of that fact, you know, that I get to be that dad figure.
Is that 150 kids? Is that like over a long period of time? Not like it can't be at one time because you don't have that many beds.
We have 53 kids in our care
53 at a time
now.
right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
So over the course of time, some youth will stay longer, some will exit more quickly, depending on what their needs are. Sometimes a youth moves to the area or has been with a partner and it ends and they just need a shelter for a couple of days or a couple of weeks to get it figured out and get grounded. Take that breath and then move. Yeah.
So you were talking about spiritual groundedness, and I didn't realize what your profession was when you were talking about that in the first part of the talk. But one of the things, I teach improv to children, and one of the things that I do on a regular basis, like your grocery store thing, is when there's a moment that they're doing something by themselves, I take that moment to hold different children in the light and just like hold them as a spiritual, you know, it's something that helps me ground and remember why it is that I'm teaching this, and to really see them, especially the children who are kind of annoying me. Like, I hold them in the light because I'm much more likely to be, because I remember why I'm there again. So that reminded me of what you were saying. And then also on the whole pronouns and that kind of thing, we've had children who are struggling with their identity who come to camp or class as well. And I like to, if I've identified somebody who's in that process, then in the morning I'll just be like, hey, how are we referring to you today? You know, and then I let all the teachers know, and so we're on the same page. And, you know, I'm like, you know, if it needs to change at lunchtime, let us know, you know, that kind of thing, so that they know that not only can they present as something different, but that is, we're with them with their flexibility, and we're with them as they're changing during the day. And then one last quick thing, because pronouns are so difficult, my pronouns are not the standard, and oftentimes people will go out of their way to apologize profusely, and that's very embarrassing. So if you know somebody with unusual or pronouns that you're not used to, or if you trip up, it's fine to just go like, sorry, correct, and move on, or not even say sorry. You can just correct and move on, and it's fine. Over apologizing is kind of a power move in a way as well. And so those were just things that came up for me.
Absolutely. And that's when I spoke of not justifying a mistake. We make it worse. Oh, but I thought, nope. I'm sorry. I will do better. I will. And if we're in a clinical setting or a meeting setting, thank you for reminding me. I'm going to write that down so that I make sure that I get it correct next time. If that changes, will you let me know? Great. Thank you.
Hi, Greg. I'm Will from the Baton Rouge Friends meeting. So if I am feeling spiritually stale, so not spiritually refreshed, not able to give my task at hand, my all. But I still, like your 150 kids, they rely on you. If I have those relationships that rely so heavily on me, like my father, how do I, or how do you set boundaries in those relationships where the person on the other end is still feeling uplifted and getting what they need from you, whereas you're not just continually draining to a point where it becomes detrimental to both of you?
For me, it's important to have that conversation. The other person doesn't know where you are, potentially. So when I've had those situations, it has been, I am feeling depleted and I feel like I'm not doing you and this relationship justice. What I need is for this to happen. If it is a caregiver position and it's 7 days a week, we need to collectively find someone able to support me and you so that I can be fully present, so that I can take that time. Because many times I've discovered the minute that I say I need a break, oh my gosh, I had no idea you were feeling that way. I am so sorry. If I was Canadian, I would say sorry. But there's those opportunities for those individuals to not even know that you're in that space, because we're happy, we're doing what we're supposed to be doing, we're always present, we're showing up, we're doing all of the things that have maintained their idea that nothing's wrong. So being able to step back or confide in someone that is aware of the situation. I'm really struggling with my dad right now. I'm really having a hard time. Is there anything that you can offer, or will you go with me? Invite someone into the conversation with permission in order to take all of that off of me and share it. You know, if there's another family member or cousin or someone, a friend of the other person, hey, so-and-so and I are going to come over today. We're going to have a conversation. We're going to chat and check in and do those things. Then it's not all resting with me, but there's someone else to share it with me. The other part for me is finding that mental health therapist that I always equate it to. It's finding the person that cuts your hair right. You're going to struggle until you find that one person that's like, oh, I get it. Oh my gosh. It's like, oh, but we have to go through a lot in order to find that person. And that means that we're going to have to tell our story over and over again, but we'll find that person. But if there's an opportunity, if I leave going, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm beating myself up, I'm adding to the layers of guilt that are already there because I haven't said it yet, but I'm feeling it already. Oh my gosh, I don't want to go, but I have to go because I'm the only person that can go. I keep amping those layers, right? So then I have to find that time to take all of those coats off because they get heavy, and finding that space. And again, it can look different for everyone, you know, but I can tell you that you're not alone in those feelings, and in that responsibility, you are not alone either. There are times for me where just getting it out of me makes me feel better. If my dogs could talk, they would be like, you are a mess. What is wrong with you? But as long as I get it out of me, the universe then has a chance to start working on it. But it takes an active engagement. It's not like, wow, I could really use a massage, and a massage therapist walks in front of you. Getting a massage requires action. I have to pick up the phone. I have to send a message. I have to do those things. I have to make an appointment. There's active engagement required in getting what I need back. So I think for me is that recognition is a huge part of it, knowing that I'm already doing, you know, maybe half of what I know that I can give, but for the other person, it's 100%. But the honesty for me of being able to say, I'm not able to come over today. I'm not able to do that for you today, without saying why. I don't have time. Well, why are you so busy? Then there starts a whole other conversation, right? About what that might look like. So being able to say, no, I can't today. No, I need to, that's the opportunity for me to be able to start recharging, if that's helpful. Thank you, everyone. And if we can just close your eyes for a second. And just take a deep breath and then let it go. We'll do that once more. As we continue our participation in this weekend and resuming our lives, this has a different Vegas rule. What's shared here stays here. What's learned here leaves here. We have an opportunity to take anything that may resonate with us out into the world and share it. So what's shared here stays here. What's learned here leaves here. Thank you for having me.